Bill stole my sister. That fella told me he'd help. There's a bounty on her, $10,000.
All right. Well, I am Grant from Screen Rant. I am so excited to be chatting with you all for this film. I watched it earlier this morning and was just floored by what you all delivered. It's such a great film. So I will start with Levon, then Leslie and Gbenga. What was it about this script and your characters that really drew you in to want to be a part of this project?
Oh, well, what I found so special about working on this one is that I think we have this idea that everyone in the West was hard as nails and was completely vicious. And what made me really excited about this character is he's more sensitive and he's a pacifist and he doesn't want to hurt people. And I think that a lot of people at that era, when we picture John Wayne, their masculinity goes in tandem with their violence. And what was really exciting for me was to try to find my version of a Western hero that didn't rely on hurting other people.
And then Leslie, how about for yourself?
I would say similarly, I really was attracted to the character of Jimmy Sue because she's not a female archetype that you usually see in the Western world. She holds her own, and there are so many, to all the characters in the script, there's so many contradictions. We're all searching to preserve a bit of morality while we're just trying to survive and find as much companionship as we can along the way, but anything can change along the way. And so all of that, plus the snow, a Western in the snow, was like, wow, that sounds really cool, until we were freezing to death. But that sounds really, really cool. And it was.
And then Gbenga, how about for yourself?
It was interesting because we have all these wanderers, and particularly Eustace and Jones, who found one another, and it's like, in a country that's kind of still very savage and developing and finding itself, laws, and then areas where there are no laws, and you just have to kind of make your way. Eustace and Jones are these two kind of outcasts, that are again found one another, that just like we can work together to survive. I get you, you get me, and like there's a partnership that seems to make sense, and we bury people.
I love that you all found we bury people.
It came out so hard, Gbenga.
I like that.
He means he's a grave digger, but
for some reason that sounded so Brooklyn. We bury,
Well, that's the perfect explanation. I love it. Levon, I will turn to you next. So much of this, your character's journey is rooted in trying to save your sister from Cutthroat Bill. And I'm curious, as having a sister in real life, how much did you pull from, your own familial experience to really influence your performance of, trying to get her back?
I would say that was actually the biggest basis of my character. Was I think at the bottom of everything he does is his love for Lula, his sister. And I actually have 4 sisters, believe it or not. I got 4 other sisters, and 3 of them being younger and 1 older. They're all my best friends in the world. And just this whole story I could ground in myself. And then I'm a person who usually likes to act from imagining like things of my past, situations I've really been in. And Gbenga and I were doing this, and Leslie too, we're doing this one scene that was really hard where we have to torture this guy. And it was so brutal where I was really struggling to imagine myself inflicting such a cruelty on another human being. And the only way I could get through it and find some justification was really through imaginations of my sisters. And if I actually picture that my sister was being taken by somebody like Juliet's character in this movie, there's nothing I wouldn't do. And I think that that's when the good morality of a character like Jax just has to crumble, is when one thing he holds so important is nonviolence has to face the violent world that he's in. And that's, I think, the most interesting territory to mine in that character.
It's funny, I think if you had a brother, it might not be so hard imagining torturing someone else.
It's, I have both a brother and a sister, and you're right.
I concur.
I love that you were able to pull from that, though, Levon. It really does just make your performance pop off the screen. And Leslie, I will turn to you next. You were talking about wanting to avoid making her a female archetype, and I love how much power she has, but also in that torture scene as well, how much compassion she has. What is it like trying to walk that balance, of ensuring she's not a weak woman in the West, but that she is someone who will still go to these extremes?
Yeah, I think at times I did feel, and Levon and I had a lot of conversations before starting to shoot. You know, we were kind of like also personally like grappling with like where does that the sensitivity and the empathy for others equal masculine or feminine like strength, you know what I mean? And or doesn't, and what of it is archetypal and like not really in kind of surface level, and what of it is actually like, no, this is really something that is just of this time, would be true, and is something that you would have to deal with at this time. And so a lot of it was in the ways that I would like walk that line. I would just try and be as present as possible. It sounds super cliche, but I would just try and be as present as possible and listen, particularly for that scene. I was outside of the room for a lot of that time, and then Jimmy Sue, and ends up entering once a lot has happened, but I've been hearing the whole time. And even just being able to listen in, like I remember not wanting to move. Obviously I wasn't in the shot, but I remember not wanting to move from that space because I wanted to overhear what was happening as Jimmy Sue would be in that room. And it really allowed me to walk into that atmosphere basically in a really specific way.
It's a great off-screen detail that I love that you were able to bring that to that scene, because it really does make, like I said, that empathy and compassion all the more stronger as she finds where the line is. And Gbenga, I will turn to you next. We made jokes about, maybe not torturing someone to save a brother, but you and Peter have such a wonderful brotherly love throughout this film, and so much of his journey is trying to break down those walls and have that kind of compassion for other people. What was it like finding that dynamic and that rapport with him throughout filming?
It was super easy, like finding that with him, and because he's such a affable, open actor and guy, like we were able to explore, like their connection and how to get that across on screen, both in the text and subtext, because not everything needs to be said. It could just be in the moments. And Peter is really like, it's really about about crafting the moments, even if you don't get to. He doesn't have to say it. He believes you don't always have to say everything and not talking down to the audience. And I'm of the same mind. So we had fun figuring out ways to, get their relationship across, knowing what, that way, either through the text or subtext.
I love that. And it makes it so much of an emotional and hilarious at times dynamic to watch. So I'm glad that you found it that quickly. And then Levon and Leslie, I wanted to turn back to you. So you talk about, so much of this movie is also about your connection, and I'd love to hear about what it was like for the two of you, finding that dynamic and rapport with one another as two people who are compassionate and kind-hearted in what could be a very savage world.
I'll go first this time. And then I really think what was so special about that dynamic is like there's these two people kind of just really that lead with kindness in a world that is so unaccepting to people who do that. So I think that's really what makes them fall for each other. And then what's beautiful, I found, and what we really felt from the moment we first connected, was at the end of the day, they're allies. They're friends who want the best for each other. And that's what they both need. And that's what they're there to offer. Like, Jack isn't really there to fall in love. He's there to get his sister back. And that's what he's doing. And she recognizes that and kind of has some admiration towards someone with such a genuine, good feeling. And then it just all kind of builds together with so much friendship was really what struck me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. And just to add, like, I think being able to just talk through some of the things that are more than just skin deep, that I feel like sometimes we miss when we get to see a female-male relationship on screen, and a young female-male relationship on screen, especially in this time. It was really nice to have the opportunity to do that. And we both had very, very unique thoughts about how to portray each of the characters' strengths in new ways and kind of stretch the imagination on that a little bit. And so it was really cool to have their relationship be based off of what makes sense for the story. It's like they have a mission. It's to survive. And for Jack particularly, it's to survive so that he can find his sister. And they got each other's backs. You know what I mean? If they can, find love in that process, that's beautiful. And like, it's a very lonely world. So yes, but their priority is survive together and keep each other alive.
Well, I really can't wait for people to get to see all three of your journeys in this film. Because like I said, I love this movie so much. I wanted to rewatch it if I didn't have to come and do these interviews. So
oh my God.
Thank you all so much. I see I'm out of time, so I will get on out of here, but I look forward to getting the word out about it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Really appreciate it.
You ever shoot a man?
No, I'm a Christian.
God knows how many this cutthroat has.
3 against now.
2 against. You're a Christian.